Click the links to join the channel or check out the various other Odyssey, Bit Chute, Gap TV, and all the rest of that kind of stuff. So why does Rings of Power suck so bad? And it does. It really, really does. And if if you haven't seen it, good luck. Good luck. It's online. You can find it. If you can get through 4 episodes, I'd be surprised. Maybe if you had no familiarity with Lord of the Rings at all, and people go, "Oh yeah, I haven't read Lord of the Rings," like, what are you even doing with your life? You can find those books used online very, very inexpensively. I have a copy. I've got a couple copies of Lord of the Rings. But I mean, I have one copy that has all 3 books in one. It's actually kind of a big book. Actually, it's not the best because it's kind of too big to hold. But you get the idea. You can find those books. Have you not read, like, Lord of the Rings? Oh, I saw the movies. Hey, don't get me wrong. The movies are great, but the book's even better. First of all, they say that people are watching it. That's what the numbers came out. I did a video about that yesterday. I'm pressing F to doubt. Something just doesn't add up with what they're saying about it. It's the #1 streaming show. Yeah, and then you look at it like, is it really? Okay, but then that just means, if that's true, that it means that everything else that it's ahead of is also equally bad. Like, this is the best of the worst. You're the smartest kid on the on the bus, sort of thing. It's like, congratulations, you're to the right of the left of the bell curve. You're a midwit. That's kind of what Rings of Power is. I mean, what's Rings of Power? Oh, it has good settings, and they talk in this ASMR voice all the time, or at least she does. She does that Batman whispery, throaty, kind of raspy voice. It's like, that should be only used when you're fighting a cave troll or something where you have to kind of be quiet, but not actually be quiet. So it just kind of implies that. So I don't see how the show is #1, unless that's just an open admission that everything sucks, which is probably more accurate. So my BS senses are pinging. As I said yesterday, I think they're lying. I'm just going to openly say that. I think somebody's lying about these numbers. Something doesn't make sense with this. And it's like, don't skip over the idea of, like, the simplest, that Occam's razor. That simple explanation is, oh, maybe these big corporations are just lying, or maybe these movie review sites, or maybe these sites that are collating this material, maybe they're just kind of fudging the numbers. Is that possible? If I was a movie review site and somebody was willing to slip me, hey, here's $7,500. Oh, what's this for? You're going to review the episode 4, right? Yeah. Well, here's $7,500. Oh, okay. I noticed it's not a check. It's cash. That's cash. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Oh, would you like to just write the review yourself and I'll sign it? Yeah, that's what we've already actually done. We've actually just written it for you. Here's the $7,500. Okay, then, let me just go ahead. We'll just print that up then. Am I saying that happens? I'm saying money talks. And, like, why wouldn't... when you have something that doesn't make sense with people, you look at it a lot and go, oh, it must be drugs. That's my common explanation for a lot of people. Strange behavior, it's like, oh, they probably got into something they shouldn't have got into, and they're going to need 28 days, that kind of thing. It's like strange behavior. It's usually going to be something like that. Somebody got a pain medication prescription and they went overboard with it, and mommy needs to go away for 28 days to dry out. It's like, and they come out back fine, but it's like that usually explains strange behavior. Well, when Internet Movie Data, it's a 96 points out of 100. Really? So it's like one of the best shows ever made. It's right up there with Citizen Kane, which I didn't get because I'm dumb, I guess. Or Casablanca, which I definitely did get, and I thought it was brilliant. I think all that guy's movies are brilliant. Not A Bridge Too Far. Well, that was a movie too. I'm thinking Bridge on the River Kwai, which is a movie too, but pretty stupid fictional movie, because it's like, oh, the Japanese need these Englishmen to build bridges. Japan has got more bridges than any other nation on Earth because of the geology, geomorphology of the way the country's set up. They actually have a lot of bridges. They're pretty well expert in building bridges. Okay, fair enough. So that didn't quite make sense, but it was still a good movie. Anyway, so my BS senses are pinging very seriously with these claims. I look at them and go, like, these are the worst people on Earth. Why would I believe them? Oh, that is a more logical explanation, just to say that these people are probably lying for, not a very huge amount of cash. You go like, yeah, so if we bribe this reviewer, it could make Amazon, hundreds of thousands of dollars or maybe even $1 million. And every time we pass out like $5,000 to $10,000 bribes. And I'm not saying they do it, but if you like, a business is simply going to look at the numbers, and you go like, yeah, it's a worthy investment to get like really, really high reviews for a small investment that results in, several thousand people subscribing for, whatever it costs, whatever this subscription cost me. This is Amazon. I totally paid for it. I didn't just go on to Solar or 123 or anything. So why is the show so bad? Well, one, it's obviously not in the spirit of Tolkien. Everyone in the show is bitter and hateful, and so is the same Andor, Star Wars, which I'm going to do later. It's the same vibe. It's like, this doesn't feel like Star Wars. It doesn't feel like Lord of the Rings. Everyone is just this miserable. And it's a very, if I'm being honest, a very thinly veiled, globalist analogy of modern day istophobicism. It's like it's right there under the surface. Except I don't care about all that kind of stuff. I just don't. You can't make me care about it. I don't want to. I don't care about a moral lesson from the Epstein Island Hollywood crowd, because that's what this is. It's just the most hypocritical people. Hey, let's applaud Weinstein. Oh, and then we need to lecture these people while we drive $200,000, 13 miles to the gallon AMGs about like they need to drive Priuses or something. It's like, didn't you fly here on a private jet? Didn't you literally fly your dog, Chelsea Handler, across the country burning 50,000 gallons of aviation fuel because you wanted your dog to go from like New York to Hollywood or something? You thought it was funny? Oh, yeah, but you guys need to drive Priuses. Don't you drive a $150,000 Tesla and like fly private jets to the climate conferences? Leo DiCaprio, like, don't you guys use Kim Kardashian and the rest of these idiots? Yeah, we use like 250,000 gallons of water to water our lawn because, listen, trees are one thing, but like, yeah, we needed a green lawn. No, you don't. The rest of California doesn't water their lawn. It's just weeds. But I mean, that's the thing. Is like, why would I want to lecture from these people? These people are all, words I can't say on YouTube, but they're just the worst people on earth. Sacrifices sort of thing, or at least figurative sacrifices. So the worst people on earth are claiming the moral high ground. Again, these people can just S up bag of D's. The hypocrisy is just too much for me, and for anyone who's familiar with Hollywood or Lord of the Rings. Every show I see has the bad guys who always look like they're out of Western European central casting. I'm not interested in that story. That story has been told. That tale has been done to death. And the thing is, I know how awesome we are. And it's like, well, it's this kind of weird awakening that I think Hollywood is having the unattended effect of driving these marginalized and oppressed people who look like you and I, together to find these in-group preferences. It was just kind of interesting to see. It's like that was very much, I think, the unattended effect. The thing is, we know how awesome we are. We're like, we didn't do anything to deserve this kind of hatred. And also, on the opposite to that is like, I know how evil Hollywood is. So it's the hypocrisy of the worst people on earth calling the best people on earth the worst people on earth. And you look at them and you're like, you guys fly to islands to abuse kids, and you're saying that we're the magical oppressors or something. Something's not adding up with this equation. So it's one of the criticisms, the anti-white hate. To me, that makes the story absolutely unwatchable. They don't have to be the antagonist in every show. It's especially stupid because, as I said, we're awesome. And two, an Englishman wrote the story about English mythology, European mythology, and the beautiful people of the light, the people of Europe. The European people matter. It's okay to reject globalism. We don't have to share everything. And that's, perhaps not a politically correct sentiment, but it's something you're just going to have to get comfortable with. Hey, it's not something I would have said 5 years ago, but I look at the realities of the world and go, yeah, you're going to have to you're going to have to change your worldview to customize. And that doesn't mean conciliate, placate, to try to meet these people in the middle. No, they're evil. You got to go in the opposite direction, the complete opposite direction, as fast as possible. It's okay to hate these people that are pushing this propaganda. Hollywood is full of the most evil MFers on earth. Please explain to me why I would want to see propaganda that defames the awesome European people, especially when the stories are created by European people for European people. It's one of the reasons why using non-European actors in these shows don't work, because Hollywood won't make them the antagonists. It's one of the reasons. So the viewers know that they're always going to be played, the bad guys are always going to be played by people who look like this on screen, the fair-haired, light-eyed actors. Why would you do this to one group of people? Why is this racist hatred acceptable for this one group of fair people? You know, it's especially ridiculous because they're the ones who wrote the stories. It's like that's part of the humiliation ritual. Because Hollywood is ruled by fomenters of discord who want the pawns to focus on race and not class, which they very successfully subverted, because the puppet masters are very wealthy. That doesn't quite describe it. It's like saying the universe is large. That doesn't quite describe it. So Larry Fink or Schwab is pushing Hollywood in this anti-white direction instead of a anti-puppet master, ultra wealthy direction. Whatever happened to eating the rich? No. That was 2012 energy. We're not going to eat the 1/10 of 1%. We're gonna eat like the 2% to 3%. Oh, it's kind of weird that you'd skip over the very, very top of the food chain. It's almost as if that very, very top of the food chain is actually funding you. Oh, plot twist, they are funding you. Oh, hey, Bank of America, Soros is actually funding these groups. It's like, so you're on the left, but you got completely subverted and corrupted. How do you feel about yourself? Like a shill, but I smoke a lot of weed to make up for it, and I still think that I'm fighting the man. No, because the man's at the top of the apex. You're fighting like the middleman, and you think you're doing something. Speaking truth to power, but not the actual power, because that's actually dangerous. So it's like you think you're doing something, but there's no risk in what you're doing. Anyway, so in this theater of the absurd that is present-day Weimar, the pawns are fighting over stuff like a girl wearing an Asian dress a couple years ago, or pronouns, and they think all this is important. It's not. It's definitely not. Or marching through residential neighborhoods. They think Bob, the tile guy in his $50,000 truck, is their oppressor. They really believe that, and it's like you'd have to isolate them for a minute, calm them down, and calmly ask them some biting questions about like what led you to this conclusion, and what would lead you to conclude the opposite. They don't even know what like BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. They have no idea what those things are. Nancy Pelosi stole $100+ million via insider trading, completely ignored by the SEC. $2 billion of Black Lives Matter money went missing. Well, I mean, it went into people's homes. It's buying large mansions. Yeah, that's not a meme. That actually happened. That's all real. And yeah, the district attorneys? Isn't there like a State Department? Isn't there like federal prosecutors? Shouldn't the media be pressuring the state to investigate at a state level or federal? Shouldn't somebody? That money just disappeared into people's homes. Yep. Yeah, okay. But the media and all that bullshit about speaking truth to power? Yep, that's all bullshit. Oh, yeah. The Mary Sue had an article today or yesterday about Congress was going to pass a bill about representatives could not own or trade stock while they're in office. They had to put it in a trust or something like that. They couldn't make trades while they're in office. It's like, oh, so what happened to that bill? That's a good question. It's just kind of sitting there. Just kind of like, we're not going to go to Congress if we can't get $100 million out of insider trading. This is the end. This is the end stage of capitalism. No, it's sort of, but I mean, capitalism is just as cringe as communism. It's the same people are pulling the strings. It's the end stage of Weimar, if you want to call it that, where they're just looting the treasury as fast as possible. We're going to have to take these U.S. dollars and convert them into something more tangible, real estate or precious metals or currencies overseas or something else. It's like, oh, that's not hyperbole. It's not tinfoil hat, because it's all actually happening. Vote ourselves another raise. And it's like people focus on the raise. Hey, they're getting paid $500,000. Yeah. But I mean, that still doesn't add up to, $250 million that some of these representatives are worth. Or Nancy Pelosi. It's like, oh, her trading history. That's her husband's trading history. Okay, but obviously the knowledge came from her. That trading history is remarkably prescient. Like $140 million prescient. Does anyone raise their hand like, oh, this should really be investigated, and she should probably be in prison as long as her husband for insider trading. I mean, you can go after Martha Stewart and Enron, but once you start getting to the top of the power structure, they can literally just steal billions of taxpayer dollars. Yes, those are, you're stealing from other shareholders who got screwed on those trades. Anyway, the subversion of the pawns is complete when you can get them to fight each other and think that they're actually doing something. Maybe Little Mermaid was a psyop the whole time just to get people to fight, which is a pretty reasonable explanation. So Rings of Power sucks because it's a collection of different people pretending to be a tribe, talking about tradition and the ancestors, but they don't have the same ancestors, so none of that argument makes sense. They're a mixed tribe of people. Mixed tribes don't care about each other. They're not going to fight and sacrifice for each other for the common good because there is none. That's not how people work. Only a tribe of one people will do that. You know, we've only got 10 million years of history to back that up. They have one mixed group of people who are fighting another mixed group of people, but in the real world, people are loyal to their blood tribe, not to some idea of a nation, and they certainly are not loyal to a foreign queen. That's asinine. And as soon as the opportunity comes, they're going to sell out the group and betray them in favor of their own blood tribe to advance their own interests. That's how humans work. And I hesitate to call it a nation or a country because it's nothing more than an economic zone that will collapse at the first sign of stress, as you see with every natural disaster in any mixed society. The state inevitably and immediately falls apart, and people start rioting, looting, and attacking people. There is no come together for the common good. It's like, oh, we're all vastly different people. We're not even the same tribe at all. There's no common good here. It's just get what you can. It's like, oh, it's just a chaotic society. It's like, soon as this stress is applied to a metastable system, it collapses into an unstable system, as every hurricane will show you. We cannot suspend disbelief that far to think that a mixed group works. It fails today. It failed historically. It's failing now. It's failing in the future. It's globalist propaganda. Why would we want to see this horse feathers on TV? It's okay to reject this. We don't have to share the European story. It's for us. It's ours as the European family. It's good to hate these Marxists who replace the English from the story that the Englishman wrote, or it was Hans Christian Andersen. I don't remember where he's from. Somewhere up north. I mean, they do it all over the place. I mean, they're going to do it. They'll do it with Jules Verne's stories next, though some of his stories are a little bit spicy, especially for today's climate. If you want to go read Off on a Comet, it's freaking hysterical, but there's some very politically incorrect scenes. They will call you all sorts of ad hominems, and they'll deflect from the argument. To them, the people of Europe don't matter. That is a dehumanizing step to genocide. You don't fight this by standing still, which is why some of the stuff I'm saying might sound a little bit, and I get it, I hear it. I'm not crazy. In a few years ago I wouldn't have spoken like this, but you just have to take the situation in stride and kind of respond to it accurately. You have to move in the other direction. You can't meet them in the middle because they keep moving the goalposts, and they're never moving it to advance your interests. People are tribal. They advance their own interests. Stop trying to meet them. Get based, get extreme in-group preferences, and move in the other direction. If you don't get tribal and advance your own interests, it's just game theory 101. You're going to get run over by people who do act tribally and advance their own interests. It's okay to say these things are for European people. Replacing European people in a European story is hate, and it's dehumanizing. If you don't call it out, nobody will. It's not that deep. They really do hate you. They don't want to stop racism. They just turned all the hatred against one group of people, our tribe, people who look remarkably similar to us, your blue and green-eyed heroes over here. We're not sharing stories because the race swaps don't go both ways. These ticks and leeches just suck the blood of these European stories, and they spread filth and corruption of globalism. They're also telling non-Europeans that their stories aren't valuable. Their only value is to steal the genius of these European creators. They view this world through this Übermensch, Untermensch lens, and you think like, oh, I can't help but notice you're swapping in non-Europeans for a European story. Why don't you just tell the Little Mermaid chick's African? Why don't you just tell an African story? set in Africa, some African mythology, something like that, instead of taking a, I don't know, Danish story. Oh, yeah, and then you should put some, some Scandinavian person in that African story. Oh, we're not going to do that. Yeah, because non-European people have value to you. European people don't. And that all has to change. Otherwise, like, this slippery slope just slides on pretty quickly. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys next episode.